love Black History Month, despite it being the shortest month of the year, but we're grateful.
With that said, we're going to celebrate and talk about historical events or iconic color figures of history leading to modern times.
Oh, yes, love it. Welcome to today's podcast. Today we're going to talk about random topics. We're going to talk about Texas and the unexpected occurrence freeze. I believe I spoke to someone and I saw the news. They said it was 12 degrees and rapid fires breaking out because bursted pipes and electricity and things of that nature. My prayers are with you guys. I hope everything is okay. Also, we're going to talk about Saudi Arabia. Did you know they had a blizzard?
Yeah, a lot of hot places are suddenly getting snow.
I know. And we're also going to talk about Bill Gates. We're going to talk about Dr. Fauci, Leonardo da Vinci. They are actually in this whole weather occurrence, and we're going to explain that a little later. And we're going to talk about Black people cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
You know, and the thievery when it comes to Black culture. And our names are not being put on things that we create. So we're definitely going to get really deep into some Black history roots in this Black history theme of podcast this month.
And this is pretty much the random part of our chat. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now getting back to the Texas. It was told that I spoke to someone, it was 12 degrees. He said it was 12 degrees, and he said pipes were very cold. And he said the water was tainted because of it. And they having to thaw out their water and boil it because it's really, really cold down there. He said the electricity was turned off for a few days, I believe.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, and they had an inch of snow. And I'm assuming that was the reason for the fires. I guess, electricity got crossed with the water and stuff of that nature. And we saw actually a newscast of firefighters just standing there and letting things burn. Now, I did ask someone who stayed in Texas, and asked him, I said, was it just a Black community? He said, no, it was the Houston community, a lot of various races in Houston where this is happening. So it's not just happening to Black people. You know, I couldn't really tell from the picture, so I'm not going to even point fingers at that. But from what I read about and seen other people talk about, far as things catching fire, since they are starting to control the water now, and you have the firefighters unable to really put out the fire, and that's really sad though, because they're firefighters at the scene, but you'll see them not being able to do anything, well, much of anything really, to help the fire keep it from spreading to other buildings and places. It's very devastating seeing that. Yeah, it is. It is very devastating to have all of your belongings, all of it. It can be gone in smoke. And having renter insurance, they can trip because apparently floods is not in a lot of insurance policies.
It's not.
Because they say that's not, what is it, nature or something like that? Nature cause?
It's not natural causes.
I'm like, okay, so I'm assuming they just think people are just taking buckets of water and flooding out their basements or something like that. I mean, if floods is not natural causes, I don't know what. I think the insurance companies are some freaking thieves, and I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. And I'm sure I'm in great company of this accusation against the insurance company. That's another thing. You pay this insurance month after month after month. But when you get into an accident, your rates go up. It's like I'm punishing you for using your own.
Which is the reason why I remember, because when you in financial literacy, you end up talking to a lot of other teachers who teaches it, and one of the big things they talk about is actually insurance, and how one lady, she's very interesting. She brought up having just a savings account for those once in a lifetime, or one of those blue moon your car crashes.
Yeah, they call it mad money, or money you put away for a rainy day.
Yeah, and she said just do that. You can have insurance, but really just depend on you saving and using that money you saved for those incidents. Yeah. Which is sad that you have to end up doing that because you can't depend on your insurance to do it.
That's true, because they're just there just to collect money. I mean, it's really sad. And the killing part, they get away with this kind of thing. And it's the same thing with Goodwill. Goodwill makes millions and millions of dollars for free merchandise.
Yes, and that's one thing. You'd be surprised that a lot of people didn't know that about Goodwill. They didn't know that.
oh, we giving it to because they sell it for, low income family. I'm like, but you do know they're the ones who really profited off that. It's not like they're taking money out of their pocket and paying these people. People get paid for what they make in the store. And this is coming from a manager herself. You get a particular budget that you're making inside that store. They give you a total amount of hours and salary that you can use. Oh, you got to use this for your payroll. This is how many hours you have. And that's how many people you can based on how much they get paid that you are allowed to have in that store. Therefore, the people who own the establishment don't have to come out of their pocket. And then they get, breaks from the, the tax write-offs and stuff like that. So you're literally supplying their merchandise for free, but they're getting paid for it. It's a rip-off, plain and simple.
It really is. But what makes me a little bit sad, though, is the people who donate to the Goodwill, thinking they're doing, like, a good deed, but they're not. Like,
you better off taking it to the homeless shelter yourself. You better off doing that. Taking it to the homeless shelter yourself, or just going into a random person who you know, or whoever. You better off giving it to them yourself versus taking it to a Goodwill. Or just having a rummage sale and then donate the proceeds to a charity that you trust, a charity that you start, because you can't trust charities either. But
yeah, you have to look up about them.
That's true. And I'm saying that because a lot of these people who lost all of this merchandise more than likely will probably need the help and aid of something. And I don't even know if they're helping anything. I haven't really heard Biden say anything about it. He may have, but I haven't really been following his feed. He seems to be so concerned about the vaccine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Saying, and it was a post that he tweeted, he was like, I will not stop, I'm paraphrasing, of course, I will not stop until every American is vaccinated, or something along those lines. That post scared me because I was like, I don't know about that. So yeah, these families are definitely going to need some aid. If I remember, I'm going to put some different charities that I have trust in, that I've researched, that you can donate money to these families who are going to need this particular kind of aid. So all I say is keep them in your prayer, because I know a lot of people stay in Texas and Saudi Arabia. Okay, now here is the thing. I read someplace, actually one of my subscribers, my truth seekers, sent me a post.
Yeah.
And I forgot to post. I get a lot of DMs and a lot of emails. I wish I had someone who can handle that, but I can't afford to pay you. I'm sorry. So I have to do it myself. Damn it, Lexi. You have to go. Okay, never mind. She can go to school. Y'all heard the head crap, right? Okay, we're going to let that go. Anyway, getting back to the point. I wish... I wish I did that help. I'm just gonna point that out there.
I would try.
She's not gonna try. She's not. No.
Look, one day it'll be like a one, maybe, I don't know.
Moving right along here. A truth seeker sent me a post that said that Bill Gates was trying to concoct some type of experiment to block the sun. Now, let that marinate a little bit, because this happened shortly before these random weather occurrences in random places.
But to add on to like the whole blocking the sun thing, even before then, they was talking about, I wish I could remember exactly where I read this from. I mean, I read so much stuff off of different websites and blogs, but they was talking about how them trying to control the weather. And at first when I read about that, but this is not only just in one location, I read about this numerous times, but this was like some years ago when I read about them trying to develop something to control the weather across the world.
Well, I
so
know
do you think this has to do with them blocking the sun? Because the sun have a lot to do with the weather.
Well, yeah, I think they're definitely doing something, and I did hear about that too, where they're trying to control the weather. And when you get rare places like Saudi Arabia getting a blizzard,
places getting snow,
yeah, it definitely raised some eyebrows. And Bill Gates, and I actually did a video about Bill Gates. I did a video, and this was facts. Everything was in the video was facts. I was not making up anything. I swear to you. Bill Gates bought Leonardo da Vinci's book, his sketchbook. He bought it for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And he quoted, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is pretty much what he said. He thought Leonardo da Vinci was a hero. He loves the fact of being liberated and able to conquer your dreams of experimenting. I'm just paraphrasing, but that's literally what he said. He liked the fact that if you want to do this or do that, you should just do it and have the liberation and freedom to do that.
Yeah.
And this is Bill Gates. I'm not racist or anything, but He's white. He has the liberty to do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, he does.
And it's amazing that he said it because and then I read another post where he's trying to create a farm. And I put it in the video.
And by the way, this is not a farm with animals.
This is not a farm with animals. This is a farm. I said farm. This is a farm with the use of, just put it like this. Bill Gates is, he doesn't like black people. He made it abundantly clear that he don't like blacks, colored African Americans, Mexicans, or anything of that minority. He doesn't like them at all.
And you can look this up. This is true.
And he is in the search of melanin. Melanin is the DNA for Africans. They say for darker skin, for some blockage for the sun. Just paraphrasing, but it's for a lot of different things as well. But it's definitely rooted in African people and Hispanics as well, and people from that type of region and origin. But he's in search for that because they need that for a lot of things. They need it for hair products. They need it for aging products. Mm-hmm. They need it for polio. Henrietta Lacks had a high concentrate of that where they thought her cells was immortal because it was able to continue multiplying when she was dead outside her body.
Yeah.
So they use her blood to create polio vaccines and things of that nature. And they distribute among labs all across the world and made billions and billions and trillions of dollars. They call it HeLa cells. They call it another name too to hide the root of it. And her family never got confiscated. This is something Bill Gates has been in search for. He has been giving broadcast seminars all over the world saying what he's going to do. Him and Dr. Fauci are friends, by the way.
Yeah.
He's been very blunt of what he want to do. Now, this farm, you can use your imagination and it could be taking bloods from Africans because they are literally, he's down there right now. I'm not sure of the very moment, but he already gave the king or someone, and I put this in my video, you can check it out on my Patreon. He already went down there and gave the ruler, king, whatever they call him down there now, billions of dollars so he can experiment for vaccinations and vaccines for Africa. Even though Africa didn't even have a high concentrate of COVID infected people in the beginning. They didn't.
Sure, they didn't.
Until people started noticing that, and then coincidentally, Bill Gates goes sneaking his behind down there, as he knows to be down there a lot. He loves going down there, by the way. So he goes down there, and now the bodies has increased to a substantial amount. They're running out of places to bury people.
I know, and that's so sad to read about.
Yeah, so they're massively making big graves and just throwing people. Reminds you of some stuff you probably read about during the civil rights time, too. And them boys, whole nother subject, did a video about that, too. But he down there and all of these things are happening. You understand, Bill Gates has a history of creating these shots and vaccines as creating some kind of disability or infections in people. But here's the thing, they keep allowing him to do that. And the reason you're not hearing anything about this is because the media is so controlled.
Yeah.
I had to hear about this through a small blog. They're going to control what's put out. You guys probably didn't know that Martin Luther King's brother got shot shortly after he got killed. No one knew that.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know a lot of stuff when it comes to Black history.
Oh, absolutely not. There's a lot of stuff that people don't even know of these iconic heroes and their families getting shot and things of that nature because they don't want you to know. No one even knew that it was some court case going on with Martin Luther King until people started talking about it in their videos and in blogs.
Yeah.
You know, they had to hear it through hearsay because the news and media is controlled. If they don't want you to hear it, they're not going to push it. If they want to push a vaccine, I'm going to let that go. But anyways, that's pretty much what's going on down there. So you have Bill Gates, who's down there with his machine trying to block out the sun. He think he's God. And then you have him trying to create a whole new farm using, I'll let you go ahead and use your imagination with that. And his familiar likings to Leonardo da Vinci. And don't get me started about Leonardo da Vinci, Lexi.
Yeah.
Seriously. There's no solid evidence that he even went to college. There is no solid evidence they gave him any kind of proof or recommendation to help experiment on corpse.
Which, by the way, in itself, I'm going to go just a little bit of tangent, but it will relate. But if you are going to be a surgeon today, you are required to perform surgery on a cadaver. And by the way, a cadaver is a corpse, and you know what a corpse is, a person's dead body. Mm-hmm. And when you actually look into like universities that perform surgeries and cutting open cadavers, you see people's dead bodies being casually just placed on desks. And then you see the way they just treat them as if they're just stuffed animals.
True.
And it just seemed very disrespectful in a way. I understand, like, there's such a mixed opinion about this. Mm-hmm. But it just seems... There wasn't even one video. I wish I can... like show you this video in this, but just honestly, just search up cadaver into YouTube. You will see a lot of videos pop up, and I think this video might pop up too because it was posted on YouTube as well. Mm-hmm. It's they just it's of one person. I think he was a studying student. He has someone's head, and he would just like the way he was just sawing, and it wasn't a professional tool. He was just using a regular handsaw, and the way they just treat like actual people's bodies, it really is one of those things where if you don't have like, if you are very sensitive to things like that kind of imagery, you would think this imagery would be something you see in a horror film almost.
I know.
Not something that's like commonly practiced.
I wonder if this stems from people saying you want to donate your body and organs to...
Which, by the way, please look into this. Because a lot of people don't understand... A lot of people don't understand, like, what happens to their bodies when they donate them to science.
A lot of people don't even choose that option, but that still happens. If you don't know what happens once they go to the morgue and when they're in the funeral home, because it's not like you're there when they're dressing them and stuff like that, or... when they're in the morgue. I mean, you don't even know what's in their bodies. I mean, most of your relatives' organs could have been cut out and sold at auction, and you probably had no idea because all you see is what they have in that casket.
Yeah, which happens very often, more often than you want to believe.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why I'm saying, like, before you check off, I want to donate my body to science, make sure you really look into this. This is not as cut and dry as people assume it is. It really is not.
Yeah, I think pathologists, once, and it's really sad, and that goes for any job profession. I think after a while, it becomes just a job, no matter how grotesque it may be, where you're cutting corpse or whatever, or dealing with people on a regular basis in the customer service department. You don't care about the needs of people or the feelings of people. It becomes a job. But I wonder if there is a line of decency, in what job you're doing. I think if I was a pathologist, I don't think I would be able to say, okay, this is just another dead body. Okay, whatever. I mean, how did you get to that point? It's dead bodies. We're not talking about, my Wi-Fi is out. Can you help me with my Wi-Fi or whatever customer service department or field you're in? You know what I mean?
Yeah. When
is the lines broken? When you become your moral compass and your decency is no longer there anymore.
Cause their defense of it, which is the reason why, like I said, like I understand their thought process when it comes to it, cause a lot of people defend it, saying that I'd rather them practice on an actual person's body and before they actually practice like a real life surgery on someone that could really affect another person's life. So I understand them practicing on a lot of cadavers, a lot of corpses. So I understand it. However, when you really, is one thing to say that sentence, but it's another to really see it. When you actually see them, again, I wish I was lying. You can really just type in cadaver into YouTube. There's so many videos. And you just see how they're just so, like, casual.
Oh, this is on YouTube?
Yes, this is on YouTube.
And they get pissed off at me for saying a cuss word?
And these are, like, I'm talking about, like, these people... These are like, they're not clothed. These are just naked people, dead bodies, just laying there on all these tables.
But I'm not even that. It's the fact that they're allowed to put a video up there and they take my video down or block it because I'm talking about dead people.
Look, this is because it's for educational purposes.
Mine's it from, that's a whole nother, I'm not even going in that way. But you see the difference here, people? She just got to be saying they cutting people's heads and things of that nature. I talk about dead people and they literally block and flag my crap saying you're talking about dead people. We cannot put this on YouTube. This is crazy. Even though you put no kid friendly, it still doesn't matter. They still, will seriously block you from making money on because you're talking about dead people. Screw the fact that there's news YouTube videos who talk about worse things than that and actually show it.
Yeah. I
mention it and not automatically get copyrighted when there's channels built on this period. But, that's another subject. The point we're trying to make is that there's definitely some double standards going on in the world. There's definitely some racial issues going on in the world. A lot of things are rooted from racist things. And my daughter and I were just talking about in the kitchen. We was talking about inventors. 98%, not even 98% of the things that we use right today, the root invention, the root maker of these machines or anything that you take for granted came from a black person. Okay? But you would never find that out because they don't broadcast that in school. They don't talk about it in school. You only know who is using it or who's publicizing it and selling it now.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about it is, I don't think a lot of people know this, but video games as you know them today, a lot of black people had a hand in that. So the whole cartridge thing, it's crazy. When you start looking into details about everything, kitchenware, a lot of recipes, just in general, when you look into everything, there's like the light switches, light bulbs, like when you really look into everything you use today, everything that is just commonly known, a black person is attached to that, and a black person had a hand in that eventually being invented.
Wi-Fi too.
Yeah, so that's the reason why it's crazy. And then you end up learning all this. Like, wait, I didn't know that a black person has a hand in us having video games. I didn't know that. Well, of course you don't know that. They don't write this.
Tell you that.
Yeah, they don't write this down in history books. But what do you learn about black people in history books? Well, you learn that we used to be slaves.
Yeah, they make sure they broadcast that, like, seriously, McDonald's commercials.
Yes, and that's what thing is so crazy, because, like, what you learn about, black people used to be slaves, and slavery was a thing that happened. Let me see, what do you also learn? There used to be mocking shows, mocking black people. Mm-hmm. But do you learn anything else aside from that?
Yeah, but look at the root of that little history lesson. Whose is the seniority and the most powerful people in that history lesson?
Yeah.
Yeah, white people. They make sure they broadcast stories where they're feeling more powerful and in more seniority and in charge. They're not going to broadcast things that empower black people. The reason they didn't want us to learn because they didn't want us to learn the truth. Because they know if you learn the truth, you're going to learn a lot about the different things. Wi-Fi got invented thousands of years ago. They had Wi-Fi back in Egyptian days. They had electricity back in Egyptian days. And right to this day, they don't even know how. There's a reason why the inventor of Apple, rest his soul, went to Africa before every upgrade. There's a reason why a lot of healthcare products have to get some of their soils and minerals from Africa. Did you know that? No. Because a lot of things come from Africa. Africa is not poor. The news only broadcasts that part of Africa because that's what they want to do. They want you to think it's poor because they don't want you to find out that's where they're getting their crap from. The Queen of England is a prime example of how rich Africa is.
Yeah.
She literally came up off slavery and stealing and doing her evacuations and digging in Africa and in Egypt, stealing the jewels and the money and in Africa. She getting enslaved to her. I did a video, check out on Keisha's Gossip and Truth. But I did a whole video breaking down everything about how she came up off all of that. About the Queen of England became rich from stealing from people. Literally.
Yeah.
And the stealing and the perpetrating and all of it is seriously, it has not stopped. They're still doing it. We were just talking about in the kitchen how K-pop. And I'm going to turn it over to my daughter because she's more into the K-pop whole genre right there. Where they are becoming famous from stealing from black people, but most of them, the majority of them, are racist.
And okay, so the thing is, I remember being in high school freshman year. This is going to be very quick, but it's going to lead into what I eventually end up learning. And it's always the exact same tale, running across it, a video of K-pop on YouTube. And this is when I was around the time getting sick of listening to the exact same copy and paste music that was happening around that time frame. So, naturally being me, I just looked into like other genres of music, and then naturally K-pop popped up. But here's the thing is, when you, on the surface, when you learn about it, you don't learn about the controversial parts of it. You don't, only thing you see are just people who can be Korean, Japanese, like these other races, and you see them just doing music. And you see some R&B, hip-hop influence into this K-pop genre itself,
and their clothes,
yes,
the way they dress,
and you hear like a lot of hip hop, black originated sounds involved into their music, and you see a lot of stuff. But here's the thing: that's just the surface of it. And naturally, I like the surface. I'm like, okay, this is very different. This is new. This is something that I'm not used to. Like, and you end up, you know, as any person, when you're getting into stuff, you start looking more into it. But here's the thing, when you start digging more and more into like this rabbit hole of story, you end up realizing, I don't like this.
Because you feel like they're literally trying to be your people. They are literally stealing from the root of hip-hop. Hip-hop literally culturalized music in so many different ways. Their influence on music is outstanding.
It really is.
I'm not agreeing with some of the rappers we have today, but old school rap was definitely nice. I mean, they did rap about a lot of facts that, you know, that were going on in hip hop.
Yeah.
And K-pop is literally benefiting from that now because hip hop isn't as great as it was back in the day.
Yeah.
So you got K-pop taking it to a whole new level and creating billions out of it. But here's the thing, they don't even like black people. So it's like, you don't like us, but you like stealing from us. You want us to be annihilated from the world and from existence, but you constantly stealing from the African and black culture.
And by the way, I'm going to say this now. I like to play devil's advocate, to be honest. I really do. But at this time. But right now, I'm going to abandon my role for a bit, and I'm going to make a statement. And
oh yeah, I hear that, right? She's going to abandon her role. Remember, she's never mind. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to make this quick statement. It's the fact that a lot of people. This is the reason why I no longer am into K-pop anymore. This is why I don't listen to music. This is why you have not heard their music at all.
That's true. You have kind of lingered off in other types of music. That's true. That's true. See, I have to give you your okay with that. Yeah, I agree. You haven't. Thank goodness.
This is why. Because I don't agree with the fact that a lot of them are racist and a lot of their fans don't want to admit that a lot of their favorites are. And whenever they do something that's very problematic, so let's just say they probably had a little moment on camera where they was mocking black people, and you'd be like, you know, like the baby hairs. There was like one incident with that K-pop idol like playfully doing a baby hairs or talking black, and like they do a lot of or painting their face to be a lot darker and then making fun and saying this is how black people sound, and like they do this a lot. This happens a lot, and I wish I can say it doesn't, but you can find so many clips of this. It's ridiculous. And then whenever you bring this up as a black person who wants to really enjoy this genre, but this is an issue. Like, you can't really get into something when it's offending you, like offending part of who you. No, this is not even a part. Like, you are black, so this affects you,
right?
And when you try to bring light to this, saying, hey, this is not okay, and you try to, like, pretty much trying to bring light to it because you want them to improve, you want them to better. But then you have the fans of it, and the fans, whenever you try to bring this up, like, oh my gosh, you guys want to be oppressed so bad. It's not like you guys always bringing race into this.
Right.
I'm not bringing race into this. Race was already brought into this.
They always say that when you call them out, your race. No, it's not. Yeah, you know what? No, you are bringing race into this. Let me tell you why. Because race is the root cause of this. Are you doing this because you like us? So if we wish to sit here and have an interview with you, Mr. Whoever you are, and say, where do you get your influence from? What do you inspire this whole, you know, your design, your clothes, your exterior demeanor? Who influenced you? And are you going to be honest and say, oh, I love hip hop, or are you going to say, oh, I Kan Chun Tong, you know, said, you know, he was the inventor of this. I got these saggy jeans and these chains and these wonderful hip hop clothes from him because, you know, he made it the other day or wherever the hell they stay in. I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but they're not going to be honest. And when they're not being honest and where they rudely got their inspiration from, then it becomes a racist issue.
Exactly.
Which is what they don't want to admit because no one wants to admit they're racist. They don't want to be called out. You call them out, you automatically make it a racial issue. You just admitted it by saying you're making a racial issue without me even saying it.
Because the thing is, race was already brought into that when they was mocking the way black people sound. Race was brought into this.
Yeah, when they started doing that.
And then whenever you try to mention, like, try to understand, okay, first they'll tell you, because this is a common explanation whenever they're trying to defend their favorites for doing something that actually was racist. And they'll say, oh, they don't know better. I'm like...
You should see the drawing. I think you showed me a video where he was doing some drawing the way he drew black people.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, and that's recent.
I always told you I had a funny feeling about them, but you were into it, and I didn't want to, stray you away from what you liked.
But that was in the beginning. Beginning, and it's always like that. Because I always see a lot of black K-popers end up falling out of K-pop when they start realizing a lot of this and a lot of issues with it, and it's kind of hard for you to enjoy a genre when this genre is so problematic.
Yeah, and it's hurting you from the core.
Exactly.
And that's another thing I don't understand. See, you have, people like Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci and or all the racist people in the world, they're trying to annihilate black people. You can't annihilate black people. I'm not saying you can't shoot us all, but when you do that, you're destroying yourself. You're destroying the world, you're destroying the ecosystem, you're just destroying nature. We are part of nature.
Because when you think about it, a lot of stuff originate a lot from a lot of black people. I just told you, a lot of black inventors...
we didn't even read. A lot of them didn't even know how to read.
Yeah, and saying like a lot of black people invented stuff. And these people didn't go to college. They probably didn't even go to high school. They didn't
even know how to write.
Or read, for that matter. But yeah, they invented a lot of stuff. And
they don't know how they came up with it. Because it's genetically in our DNA to know these things, to pick up things. Like if you put this together, will I create electricity? Hold up. This soil can be used for something else. Oh, maybe if I do this. It's in our DNA. It's in our genetics, which is why they want slaves in the first place, because they needed our experience. They needed our talents to build stuff. They're like, Africa down here just booming. Screw that. We need them to come down to America because we need this. But they have to stay ignorant. If you want a slave, you keep them ignorant. That serious Stockholm Syndrome crap. You keep them blinded. You keep them brainwashed. Deprive them of cults are built on this. Yeah. You have to go through a serious fasting and brainwashing techniques in order to get into a cult because your mind becomes so weak you can't think clearly. So therefore, you're brainwashed from what they teach you.
Because a lot of cults actually, depending on exhaustion. Now, when I say mental exhaustion, I'm talking about what a lot of tactics happen. So there's a reason why usually this happened back then. I don't know if this still happens today. But what happens is they'll put a lot of ads at night because usually you're very tired and exhausted at night.
That's true, they do.
So your decision making at that time, it's going to be as effective.
Alert, yeah.
Yeah, so you're more prone to ended up making bad decisions or choices without really thinking it through because you're too tired to really think things through. And a lot of religions go based off of this. So they will have there's a reason why they'll come to you when you are either at your most weak or the most vulnerable. So it's hard for you because you're already going through stuff usually when you're at your most vulnerable. So they'll go to you during those periods, in those frame of times, and then you end up pretty much converting. And it's easy to convert people when they're not really thinking through the decisions of what this person's telling them.
Right. And
they don't have a lot of effort to really look into the religion themselves because you're not really thinking. Mm-hmm. And this is what cults actually do. Yeah. But religions do this too. I'm not saying religions and cults are the same thing. That's what I'm not saying. I'm saying
they kind of are.
I'm just saying that they both do a similar tactic.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the reason why a lot of religions do this. Like when they trying to convert people, they'll go when that person is at their most vulnerable and then offer a religion to them. But whether or not that religion is something that is perfect for that person is like another story. But this is what they do.
Mm-hmm. That's true. They definitely do that. And then that stems from this whole thing where they're trying to annihilate the black culture, you know, and that's really worrisome because I don't think they know what they're doing. You can't annihilate a race that was the start of races. You can't annihilate something that is the root of everything that's existence. You think we're learning this from watching you? If we learn from watching you, you will be dead. And that's another thing I don't understand. And I'm thinking about Malcolm X. They have all of these policemen around black people because they think we're violent. We're violent?
Which is so crazy because the thing is...
We don't even have a history of being that violent. You guys have the history of being the most violent. They should have districts around y'all crazy. No, I'm not going to say y'all. We're not violent. We don't even have a history of being violent.
But when you really look into like history, I'm talking about the history of what a lot of white people have done throughout history. I'm not even going to put like race into it because race has nothing to do with it when it comes to their history of violence and being very brutal.
Oh gosh,
and cruel.
They have the history, not us.
And I mean, think about a lot of the inventions of torture being invented by a lot of white people.
Oh, I know. I remember those circuses where they had babies. I forgot.
And they were throwing stones at them.
They had a grown man in place that they used to do that in circus. So why is the black neighborhood so heavily patrolled when we're not the most violent people on the planet? We don't even have a history of being violent. We have a history of violence being committed upon us, not the other way around. You think a black person going to sit here and see a white child get ready to get hit and stand there and allow the white child to get hit? No. Because most of us are selfless in spite of race. Even after every damn thing you guys put us through. Still putting us through. We will still stand with you. We will still, seriously, we see your baby get hit, we'll try to save it. We'll pray for you. We'll take our shirts off and give it to you. But would you do that to us?
And that's the real question.
That's the question. And we're going to sign off because it's getting late. To next podcast. I'm getting emotional now. Bye. Well, that's it for today's podcast. Tune in for Tuesday's podcast.
Oh, yes. We are here every Tuesday and Thursday. Yeah, and we have a lot more coming. No filter, especially you, Mom.
Anyway, talk to you all later.
Well, bye-bye.